Hi guys, welcome back to Dimitra's Dishes. So today we're going to make a delicious coffee cake. It's going to be a lemon raspberry coffee cake, and we're going to use lemon curd that I just made in my previous video. And I'm going to take you over all the ingredients. It may look like a lot, but it's really easy to make. I'm going to take you over my favorite ingredients first, which are the streusel topping, the best part of any coffee cake. There's sugar, all-purpose flour, a little bit of salt, some butter, and lemon zest, since it is a lemon coffee cake. You're going to need some vanilla. You need always pure vanilla extract, some lemons. We're going to use the zest and the juice. So remember, anytime you're using zest and juice, you want to zest the lemon first and then juice it. Otherwise, you can't zest it. You need a little bit of salt, 3 whole eggs, a little bit of yogurt, some frozen raspberries. I buy raspberries when they're on sale, and I buy a lot of them, and I just pop them in my freezer, and then they're ready to use. And you want to make sure that they're frozen so that way they don't fall apart or get all smushed up when you're mixing them in. You need lemon curd, and you can get this recipe on my website, www.dimitrasdishes.com, and as well as my channel. I'll post a link at the bottom in the info area. You're going to need some sugar, some butter, and then the dry ingredients. You need some all-purpose flour, baking powder, baking soda, and a little bit of salt. That's it. That's all you need. I know it sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. You're going to also, I like to make coffee cakes in a tube pan. This is a 10-inch pan, and it releases easy, and it has a nice hole in the center, and it's like a classic coffee cake look. I like the way it looks. I'm going to keep a little bit of extra flour. I'm going to begin by making my streusel topping. So I have all of the ingredients in here, and the butter was at room temperature, so it's nice and soft. And I'm just going to mix this all up together until everything is nice and crumbly, because that's what the streusel topping is. It's a crumbly, delicious topping. So I'm going to do this first so that way I could pop this in my freezer. So by the time it's ready to put on top of my coffee cake, it'll be a little more firmer. And you can definitely use cold butter. It just makes it harder to work with, and sometimes I've bent a bunch of forks doing that, and I definitely don't feel like taking out a food processor to doing all that. That's one more thing to wash. So that's it. So this is my streusel topping. It's all ready. I'm going to put this in my freezer, then we'll continue with making the rest of the ingredients. All right, now we're going to continue making our batter. So the batter for this cake is super easy. Just like any other cake, you generally blend the butter and the sugar. And if you have a tabletop mixer, go ahead, feel free and use it. I'm going to use my handheld mixer. Okay, that's combined. I'm going to add my eggs to this and blend it a little bit more. Then we'll add our yogurt. And lots of coffee cakes call for sour cream, but this is a lower fat and lower calorie alternative. Not that I'm really that concerned about calories, but I just think it's healthier, and it gives you still that same creamy, luxurious consistency, and at the same time it's a little bit healthier. Okay, so the last of my wet ingredients is going to be a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Just a teaspoon. I'll measure by eye. That looks like a teaspoon. And about a teaspoon of lemon juice. And this is fresh lemon juice that I've juiced right after zesting my lemons. About a teaspoon. And mix this all up. And then I'm going to add my zest. It's about a heaping teaspoon of lemon zest, or more you could put. I love lemon zest. And that's it for the wet ingredients. Now what we're going to do is you always want to sift your dry ingredients when you're making cake. So let me sift them in another bowl. And sifting them just makes the cake really light and fluffy, and make sure that if there's any hard bits that are in the flour or anything that you're putting in here in these dry ingredients, that it doesn't go in the cake. You don't want hard bits in cake unless they're nuts or chocolate chips, 2 of which are not in this recipe. That's it. This is done, and I'm just going to add a little bit at a time in here and mix it on low so I don't end up wearing it. I'll do it in batches of 3. The last batch of dry ingredients. And you never want to overmix cake ingredients, otherwise your cake will taste like bread. It'll start to form, it'll start to get really thick and not as nice and tender as a cake should be. It'll be more bread-like. So you just, as soon as all the dry ingredients are incorporated, you want to stop mixing it. And we're going to add our raspberries in right now. And you'll see why I wanted them to be frozen. You know, raspberries are really delicate, so if you would add them to this without them being frozen, they would all completely break apart. So I'm just going to mix these in. Okay, so now our batter is ready. We are going to butter our dish. Let me clean this area up and then we'll continue. All right, so you can, if you have nonstick cooking spray or baking spray, go ahead and spray your pan so that way the butter does not the batter doesn't stick to it, the cake. I'm just going to use this butter that I have over here and use my hands and just go all around it. You could also melt the butter. All around here, put a little bit of butter on the sides. If you have a brush, you can use a brush, but I'm just going to use my hands. This is going to it's going to ensure that the cake comes out and detaches and doesn't like fall apart or rip and, you know, look all busted up when you're taking it out. All right, also what you want to do to add an extra level of protection is pour a little bit or dust a little bit of flour, and that'll ensure even more. And then you want to make sure you take out the excess by putting it all around. Let me get rid of this flour. And you want to take out the excess. Okay, so I'm going to take about 3/4 of this batter and put it in the baking tray, in the baking pan, I should say. Okay, so you want to put the batter in, and it's going to look like a thin layer, but this has lots of baking powder that's going to help it rise, and it's going to be a pretty big, fluffy cake. You just want to make room now because we're going to put the lemon curd in here. So you want to take your lemon curd that's already cool. It should be cool or at room temperature. You don't want it to be hot. And you want to take it and put it right over the batter. It's going to be like a stuffed cake. And what's better than that? Nothing. Just want to spread it out. Try to keep it away from the edges so that way it stays inside and stays nice and creamy. And now you want to take the rest of the batter and just pour it on top. So now, save the best for last. You want to take your streusel and just put it on top, all over the place. Okay, so it's ready to go in the oven. My oven is preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's going to bake in there for between 50 minutes to an hour, and we're going to check on it, and it'll be ready when it's nice and golden on top. It'll have started to kind of release from the sides of the pan, and that's how you know it's going to be ready. I'll show you what it looks like as soon as it comes out. Okay, so the cake baked for exactly an hour at 350 degrees. Now, as you can see, when it comes out of the oven, it's still super hot. It's going to start separating from the sides. That's how you know it's ready. The toothpick test will really not work too well on this because the lemon curd is going to give the appearance of like raw batter. So don't overcook it. At the most an hour and 10 minutes, depending on your oven, it should be done. But don't keep it in there longer than that, otherwise it will be dry. Okay, so you want to run your knife all around the edges so that way it's going to release easily. And I'm going to let it cool for a little bit longer. It's been cooling for about 10 minutes. You want to let it cool, if you have patience, at least like 30 to 40 minutes, so that way it's really easy to release. But I'm going to take it out a little bit sooner and hope that it doesn't fall apart on here. I'm going to make a glaze because it'll be even more delicious with the glaze. Glazes are really easy to make. All you need is some powdered sugar. And I don't measure this. I just whisk and go and add and stuff like that. So I'm going to use some lemon, freshly squeezed lemon juice that I have left over from before. And then I'm just going to whisk it together. That's all you need, lemon juice and powdered sugar. And you want it to be runny enough that it's going to be able to pour down the sides of the cake, but not too runny that it's going to be completely translucent. I'll add a little more lemon juice. And you could even do half lemon juice, half water if you don't want it too lemony. But for my taste, it can't be lemony enough. I love lemon. And don't worry, if it gets too thin, just go ahead and you could add some more powdered sugar. And you can make as much or as little as you like of this, right? And you want to make this right before you drizzle it on the cake, just because it hardens as it sits. So you want it to be easy to drizzle on top of the cake. Now, I'm going to move this on the side. Okay. Perfect. Came out just like that. Now, I'm not going to attempt to take the middle part to completely take the cake out of here because it's still really, really warm. So, and I'm not even going to really drizzle the glaze on top right now. I'm going to wait for it to cool down. But I am going to cut a piece of this just so I can show you what it looks like. And I'll drizzle some of the glaze on top of it. This smells so good. Carefully cut a piece. It's still really warm. Okay. Look at that. Gorgeous. Moist. Delicious. Who would not want to eat that with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or just like that as it is? Look at that. You see this? It looks like pudding in the middle, and then you have like the specks of raspberry in there. They're going to be so good. So I'm just going to take this glaze, get my spoon, and just drizzle some on here. Just a little more. Oh great, I don't have a fork. Let me get a fork. I'm just going to go ahead and take a bite of this. Guys, get on the website, www.dimitrasdishes.com. You're going to find this recipe, many, many more. I know people ask me where, I don't give you the whole measurements on my channel, but all of the measurements are on my website, and it's completely free to access all parts of it. Look at that. Hurry up, go and make it. I'm going to take a bite of this goodness right here. Try not to burn my mouth, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye, everyone.